Welcome to RapsCast, episode 6. It's a lovely Monday night. Jacoby, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. The weather outside is frightful, but we're doing all right, I think.
Yeah, it's a good time to make a RapsCast.
Oh, yeah, indeed. When is it not?
Yeah. So, let's go around the league.
All right.
Business as usual.
Yep.
So the first one is Adam Silver announced Damian Lillard as a replacement for Blake Griffin in the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
Hell of a good choice.
Yeah, I think so. Do you think this was just the NBA covering their asses because of the whole fallout with the whole Damian Lillard thing? It seemed the public, the NBA faithful was up in arms about that. You think they're just kind of trying to cover, or it was just, the obvious call to make, or a bit of both?
I think it was just the obvious call. Do what's right. He deserved the nod. Should have got in. Yeah.
When you're the best player on one of the best teams in the best conference, one hell of a snub to be left off, I guess, eh?
Yeah, I mean, he was not just an all-star, an obvious all-star. He's an MVP caliber player. He is winning games for his team, playing at an unbelievable level, to the point that we could call him a top 5 point guard in the league, hands down. He's definitely an all-star. Adam Silver made a great choice. The next part of that is trying to see who's going to replace Blake Griffin as a starter. That's not his choice. That is Steve Kerr's choice, who's coaching the West All-Star team. So who do you think he's going to put in?
You first.
They need a 3, so I'm going Kevin Durant. Easy choice.
Yeah, he wasn't voted in as a starter, which is very surprising to me.
A man of the people, Kevin Durant.
Definitely the right choice is Kevin Durant, the best small forward in the West or in the world, bar none. I'd like to see KD in the All-Star game. That's his type of show. Lots of shooting, lots of dunking. Could be a KD fest. Absolutely, not a bad call.
Are you remotely excited for the All-Star game?
No, just like I haven't been for the last 10 years of my life. When I was a kid, just kind of starting to like basketball, the All-Star game was a big treat for me. But the more I watch, the more I realize it's just kind of like a night off for these guys. It's just a bit of a joke. The other festivities I think are kind of fun. It's always cool to watch your guys, jump out of the gym dunking a basketball or see just how well they can shoot it or what have you. But the game itself, I find, is if you really love basketball, you'll be kind of disappointed with what you find in there.
Just a big letdown.
Sort of. I mean, we were just talking about this on Melnick, actually, doing this with the NHL All-Star Game. In baseball, the way it works is should the Eastern Conference win the All-Star Game, then the team from the Eastern Conference that makes in baseball, of course, it's the National League and the American League. But basically what happens is the conference whose team wins the All-Star Game, they get home ice advantage or home field or home court advantage in the finals.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So that would make LeBron James really want to bust his ass, because even if he ends up being the 5th seed and they play the 1st seed Golden State Warriors out in West in the finals, he would get home court. I think that would be a great idea. It would make the players actually, want to bust their asses a little bit, play some defense, make it an interesting game, which I think it could be fantastic if that was the case.
That's great incentive, yeah.
Fantastic incentive, but on the flip side, of course, guys could get hurt. You don't know what the GMs think about that idea. Some of the fairness to do with earning home court advantage is taken away. So there's two sides to that coin, but I think it would be interesting to go that route and see the players actually try in the All-Star game.
Okay, let's talk about the next thing. So George Karl has been linked to the Kings. The ball kind of got rolling with George Karl saying he'd be interested in the Magic. We spoke about that a bit last week. I think that was enough to get the Kings really saying, okay, it's time to sign him before he signs somewhere else. What do you think about him on the Kings?
Well, I'm not high on the Kings as a franchise right now.
I don't think anyone is.
Right. The Kings are a place where good talents go to die. You look at a lot of their, look at the people they drafted very high. They also got their hands on Derek Williams. They got now Ben McLemore, Nick Stauskas. If you're not DeMarcus Cousins, it seems you have trouble developing your career in Sacramento. I'm not sure George Karl can fix all those problems. I'm really not sure he can. I think it's a management issue. They have a poor swag out there in Sacramento, and I think George Karl would be disappointed if he took that on. What do you think?
I think it's a waste of his talents, right? As you said, the Kings are just a place where NBA talent goes to die. For some reason, they just always get these pieces that never fit together, and maybe that's a part of them getting so many redundant pieces. I mean, they must have drafted 4 power forwards in the most recent drafts. It's getting kind of ridiculous, and then that whole Isaiah Thomas thing where they had him, they didn't want him, they got a new point guard, Isaiah would be better every season for about 4 seasons. So they have to figure out where they are, then get a coach that fits that. And I think that George Karl is not that guy. He's more established. They're trying to become a legitimate organization, and that's a good idea, but it would just be a waste. George Karl is a fun coach to watch, and I really don't want to watch the Kings.
We wanted to see George go down to Orlando. I thought Orlando, right to me, looks like a way better job than being the coach out in Sacramento.
Yeah, except for the weather.
Well, it's not like Orlando's got
Orlando,
horrible weather.
You're right. Orlando's great. Okay. Yeah, I'd rather him go to the Magic.
I love Nick Stauskas, personally. I love watching him play. I think he's incredible, and I really just don't want to see him get swallowed up by the Sacramento rookie-eating machine. I really want to see him flourish, and it's making me sad to know that that it probably won't happen.
Well, the good thing is that if Karl goes to the Kings, he is the right coach for Stauskas.
That's true.
A run-and-gun three-point shooter like him will do well in that system.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the system comes to be and flourish, I mean, there's so many problems that can arise. But overall, I don't like the move of having George Karl in Sacramento.
Me neither.
For either side.
I don't see DeMarcus Cousins fitting very well in a really up-tempo system. Do you?
No, he's not really a runner. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, they should be building around the center, making a really inside-out team. They have some pieces for that. DeMarcus is a great inside shooter. Even an outside shooter from a long two. Great player, he could do everything. You got guys like Stauskas on the outside, Macklemore.
Rudy Gay can shoot.
Rudy Gay could shoot. Well, Rudy Gay could shoot when he wants to actually shoot good shots. But that's another story. They have some of the pieces. It could work. I wish I could see him go somewhere else, and I hope he doesn't go to the Kings.
Yeah, me too. I think he'd regret that pretty quick.
Yeah. So let's just jump to quick predicts.
All right.
So, the first one is we kind of spoke about Dwayne Wade is injured for the All-Star game, who we thought would get it. We forgot to mention this guy named DeMar DeRozan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
RapsCast.
Our bad.
Whoops.
So the question is, do you think DeMar is going to get the replacement nod for D. Wade?
He's got to beat Derrick Rose to do it. That's the thing. And league-wide right now, Derrick Rose has way more praise than DeMar DeRozan. Derrick Rose, a former MVP. He's got everyone on his side because of his busted knee sob story. So I don't see DeRozan beating him. Does he deserve to be there? I think so. I think right now DeMar DeRozan is a much better player than D. Rose is. But will he get there? I don't think so. Just because Derrick Rose has that, he's sort of famous, league-wide for what he's done in the past and what he's had to go through. Well-deserved. I'm not trying to knock him for that, but I think Derrick Rose will get in there. DeRozan will have trouble convincing the people to vote him in over Derrick.
I'm going to say DeMar is going to get in. And the reason is, as you said, DeMar deserves it more. And it's Adam Silver picking. And most importantly, if you look at the other point guards on the team, there are enough. There's Irving, there's Lowry, another point guard's there too, I forget. But
John Wall.
There's no clear need for Rose, right? We already have running, slashing, scoring guys.
Mm-hmm.
DeMar could do everything. He deserves it more. And then the most important thing is that the Raptors have a better record. The Raptors are second or third in the East. The Bulls are like fourth or fifth.
True. So they deserve to have more people representing them come All-Star game.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going with DeMar DeRozan gets in the All-Star game.
And I think this would be the first time in a very long time that there are two Toronto Raptors in the All-Star game.
Yeah, it goes back a long time. The only thing that I think could stop DeMar is his injury. I think that's the only reason he didn't make it in the first place.
If he opts not to go, kind of thing.
No, I mean, the only thing that really kept him out of the game was he's injured. He didn't play enough games to get him noticed, but these past few games, these past 2 weeks, he's been playing unbelievable basketball. He really deserves it. The team has a great record. If the Hawks deserve to have 3 players in the All-Star game, which they do, definitely the Raptors deserve that too.
And the second place team needs to.
Yeah, that's how it should work.
All right.
So it's All-Star weekend coming up. We talked about that. So we thought we'd just talk about the contests going on. There's the 3-point shootout and the dunk contest. So
there's also the skills contest, but who cares about that?
Yeah, screw that. So the 3-point shootout.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to win?
I think it's a toss-up between the Splash Brothers. I don't think... the truth is it's anyone's game. Anyone could just have a hot 2 minutes and hit every single shot and, make it rain in the gym. But the most consistent shooter who I think is the safest bet here is Klay Thompson. He's tall. He's got that beautiful form. He elevates well off the floor. If he really gives it his best, I think he can go near perfect every single time.
Yeah, it's a good... they're all good choices. This is probably the best 3-point shootout we've seen in a long time. These are 3 legendary 3-point shooters. So the first person I wanted to get rid of was Irving, but last time he was in the 3-point shootout, he put a crazy high score beating out Kevin Love.
It's always a wild card. You never know. These NBA guys can straight shoot, and they just randomly they could go perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kyle Korver just because, well, you know.
Because you're not going to not do that.
I'm not going to not do that. But you know what? He's hit the most three-pointers in the league, I think. So he's had the most practice, okay?
Yeah, but he also has the least attention from a defense of those 4 guys. I mean, those...
Well, that's true. We're going to see. We're going to see come Sunday?
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We might even put a friendly wager on that, Kyle.
Okay, that's a good one. What about the dunk contest?
The more exciting of the two, in my opinion. I think we've seen a resurgence in the dunk contest, a revival, if you will. It's gone back to sort of its roots, where you're actually trying to throw down the most impressive dunk and not, blow out a candle or grab a teddy bear, all that gimmicky stuff that we've seen in years past. All these guys are spectacular athletes, obviously. I like seeing a short guy dunk. In my opinion, if you're like 6'6" or above, you're kind of out of the range that it takes to make a dunk look really good. Victor Oladipo is like the perfect build to throw down explosive dunks where he really gets high off the floor. My favorite for this one is Victor Oladipo. Even though he might not be able to jump like the other guys, I think he's really going to bring it.
I'm going to go with... Well, I disagree sort of with the really short guy. I also hate the really tall guys in the dunk contest.
Like Plumlee here.
Plumlee. They're always just really boring. They just power dunk. Kenneth Faried last year.
Yeah.
Not what I want to see. But then I remember Nate Robinson in the dunk contest, and to me that was all hype. Okay, he's really short. Yes, I'm impressed, but DeMar DeRozan should have won those dunk contests.
Yeah, of course, yes.
No doubt. So I love like the 6'6", really athletic people who just jump out of the gym. And
these guys are taller than that, though.
Well, Zach LaVine is 6'6". The guy might be the highest jump we've ever seen. I think he registered one of the highest jumps in the draft combine this year.
Like close to a 50.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So Zach LaVine is like that sleeper card. But then again, Giannis is just nuts. I mean, the guy is so tall and lanky. But I'll go with Zach LaVine. That's going to be the wild card. If he tries really hard, practices, and doesn't like goof off, doesn't just improvise, he's got to go home with it.
Right, but okay, here's my point.
Most athletic of all of them.
Yes, absolutely. Most athletic player in the NBA, probably. He's a freak. Anyway, of all the guys mentioned, who looks nicest throwing it off the glass, going through the legs, and dunking it home? It's not the 6'10" Greek freak. It's Oladipo. It's the shortest guy in the contest,
but
man.
Who's going to do it the cleanest?
I really think it's Oladipo. I think he's the...
Hey, I like Oladipo as a player. I like the Magic a lot. I hope he wins it. That would be nice.
If I was voting, Oladipo, I think...
Well, you are voting. That's how it
how am I
gets
voting? But not every round, I'm assuming.
The end.
The end.
Yes.
Okay, well, I will vote at the end.
You could choose your favorite player who did the worst dunk, if you prefer.
Right. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I think Oladipo's the favorite.
Okay.
He's also actually, I was about to make a bad call.
That he's the best player of the four?
I think the Greek Freak right now is the best player of the four.
Yes. Yes, he is. By far.
Yeah.
So let's go to a break.
All right, break time it is. Break number 1. See you on the other side, folks. Welcome back to RapsCast. We hope you enjoyed the break as much as we did. Here we are back to talk starting 5. It's business as usual with Kyle and I. And the first part of our starting 5, a member of Tribe Called Quest playing the halftime show, which brought a big smile to the face of Kyle. Why don't you tell us more about that?
Man, when Phife Dawg plays your halftime show, I think you've officially made it as the cool team, don't you?
Definitely better than, like little kids doing backflip dunks on a trampoline or something like that.
Yeah, certainly better than like Ring Round the Rosie that I saw at D-League.
Oh, man.
But Phife Dawg, one of the most influential rappers in the game. And more importantly than that, one of the biggest like sports fans, celebrity sports fans that are known just in the world, shows up to your Raptors game, puts on a Raptors hat. He's got his DJ with the We the North jacket.
Nice.
Singing some of his best songs. Excursions, Bugging Out, Can I Kick It? These are all some of the best songs in rap history.
It's big time. How much do you think Drake had to do with that?
That's a good question.
What else does he know of Toronto? You know what I mean? Like,
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think Toronto has a big following. Not just now. I think we're like that cult team everybody wants to like. And he's one of those. I'm
so happy to be that team. We're like the hot bandwagon item, but it feels good for me because I've been on this wagon since I was in diapers. Yeah.
But I swear, like, I think I told you once that before we made the show, if we, like, I think we were talking when we made the show, who would be your dream to have on the show, hypothetically, and I think I told you Phife Dawg. I said, if we get Phife Dawg on the show, then I would I would go nuts.
Well, we're a huge leap closer to that happening. He's actually aware of the Raptors now.
He's aware of the Raptors, so that's step one. But if Phife Dawg shows up at a Raptors game and performs a song, that is huge. That is crazy. But not for like the kids who listen to Justin Bieber. They have no idea. I'm sure like half the fans there didn't even know who he was.
Right.
They're like, who is this guy? He's like 4'5", rapping to jazz music.
I appreciate when they disregard what the masses would want and they actually play to the
just some great
the likes of a few. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is legendary music. One of the best MCs ever to be in the game, and wow, that just adds so much like to your coolness,
legitimacy.
Yeah, that adds so much legitimacy to us. Like, god damn it, we had Phife Dawg at a game. That was amazing.
Yeah, like the Super Bowl gets Katy Perry.
Yeah, but way better. Fuck it, it's Phife Dawg.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean.
But we got to get Phife Dawg on this show one day. That's the dream.
It's not impossible.
Not impossible.
Think big.
Think big. Get a big fat checkout.
All right.
Most likely.
Now more to a basketball related. Think 2 of starting 5. We want to know who's going to be the X factor come playoff time. Who's going to make the biggest difference, positive or negative, for the Raptors? Could be a player, coach. What do you think, Kyle? Who's going to make the difference between winning and losing in the playoffs?
Well, I think the X factor is that guy that you're like, oh, nobody ever expected, but like he just generally the X factor is either a guy on the bench and he just comes in, scores a lot of points, or does something crazy that you don't expect, and really not only just wins a game in the playoffs, but really threatens the whole series and just takes that series. Mm-hmm. So it's either a guy on the bench or a guy who's not used very much in the offense on the starting lineup. So most likely, I'm going to say, well, I don't know if James Johnson is going to be a starter come playoffs or not, but assuming he comes off the bench, which he didn't last game, I'm going James Johnson. The guy brings too much. He's just such a matchup nightmare. At the 4, he's such a great slasher, such a great finisher. At the 3, he's probably our best back-to-the-basket player we have on the team. His footwork is just unbelievable. He's very smooth, great court vision, great passer. Great combination between a scorer mentality, a creating mentality, and always amazing defense. That guy could win a series, win a playoff matchup for us.
I agree with that much. I think he can also defensively, the way he matches up, he can guard like a point guard through a power forward, and sometimes some of the smaller centers in the league. Like there's nobody he can't.
We saw him shut down Blake Griffin.
Yeah, and in that same game, he was guarding Chris Paul off the screen and roll, and giving him a hard time
without a jump.
Yeah, no,
without
he can
even a jump.
Yeah.
The best moment was he's guarding Blake Griffin. Paul uses a screen, and then what? He's got JJ guarding him. There's no matchup difference.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
even worse for him.
Yeah.
The look on Chris Paul's eyes was nuts.
Yeah.
So I think this guy in the playoffs, if Dwayne Casey gives him consistent minutes, he's going to be that guy that the fans, the media, Jack Armstrong's going to be shouting that he is the X factor. This is the guy who, if we win a series, of course it's going to be a large part due to guys like Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, but he's going to be that X factor player.
To me, an X factor has a bit of a different connotation than I think it has for you. It doesn't necessarily need to be an unsung hero for me. For me, what an X factor is the guy that we need to have. Like, it's his performance, be it, if it's good, we can win, and if it's bad, we have no chance.
Okay.
Like, that is the person who the eyes are on, and that's the person we need the best from.
Okay.
And to me, it's almost a no-brainer. I just think it's Kyle Lowry. He's got to bring his game to he's got to be the playoff Kyle that we've seen. And if he's not that, then the Raptors are really going to struggle. They need defense, they need offense, they need leadership. Kyle Lowry's need to be in tip-top shape for the Raptors to do basically anything in the playoffs. To win more than one round, they're going to need Kyle Lowry to be,
no doubt,
as good as he can get.
Yes, but I think we expect that. We know it needs to happen, and that's what the other team needs to know. Mm-hmm. To me, that X factor is the guy which the other team didn't quite plan for. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, he's the guy who's making that difference, makes the clutch play that you didn't expect, wins the game, does a great job matching up their start player. Imagine we had him last year against Brooklyn Nets.
Joe Johnson would be finished.
Joe Johnson would be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what do you think about Lou Williams come playoff times?
No.
Nope. Not the X Factor? You don't think he's I
don't think Lou Williams is even really a playoff player. Has he ever even been in the playoffs before in his career?
Yeah, in Philly he was in the playoffs. I don't think he did any damage in there, but he's the type of player, if he brought it consistently, he could be, but
he just can't do that.
It's just right now we're kind of down on him, but let's try to remember the good days. Although those were the pre-game planning days. So.
Exactly. You know what I mean? I think he might have seen the end of that. I'm not saying he can't be useful anymore, but he's going to have to adjust, and I don't think he's the X factor at all.
Well, definitely going 0 for 5 last game against the Spurs, getting 0 points. That wasn't a good sign.
That's not the Lou Williams. That's not what he does in the league. So
yeah. So if that's the sign of things to come, that's very bad.
Exactly. But
so James Johnson.
Yeah, good trade item anyway. Lou Williams
could be Terrence Ross for all we know. I would love to see Terrence Ross.
The thing is about James and Terrence Ross could play like absolute shit, and the Raptors could sweep. James Johnson a little less, but still, I feel like James Johnson could underperform, and the Raptors could still win it handedly. But without Kyle Lowry at his absolute best, I find the Raptors are going to struggle against any team.
Of course.
Charlotte.
I think we just expect Kyle Lowry to be able to perform. So
that's right. But
I guess I think of it as more of the guy who's going to be the surprise come the playoffs. For Terrence Ross, I don't think he'd make it just because he's not a complete player yet. He struggles in finishing in contact. Haven't seen great things.
His half-court game needs to improve for sure.
For sure. Let's talk about thing 3.
All right.
So this week, Dwayne Casey compared DeMar DeRozan to Oscar Robertson, the only player to average a triple-double the entire season. He called DeMar DeRozan the Little O. What do you think about that?
Well, DeMar is a jack of all trades, if not earlier in his career, then certainly now. I think coming back from this injury, he's kind of realized that he needs to be more of a situational player. He needs to read the game a little better. I'm sure he took lots of tips from Kyle Lowry and is constantly getting coached. We know how hard he works. But not a horrible comparison. I'm sure DeMar loved that. Oscar Robertson, one of the 50 greatest players to ever play the game. Not a shabby comparison. That's some nice company. It's awesome. I mean, DeMar has just become a new player entirely. He's not just a scorer anymore, and he's not even just a scorer, a passer. He just leads the team in all facets and does what's required. So, yeah, pretty good for DeMar. I'm sure he's loving that praise coming from Coach.
Well, it was definitely a great time to say it. He said the quote, and then that game, I think it was against the Clippers, DeMar DeRozan, for the first time in his career, led in every single major category statistically. He had the most points on the team, most rebounds, most assists, and most steals in that game.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. The only thing is he hasn't actually gone to triple-double.
Ever in his career?
I don't think so, but at least this season. This season, he is not. He didn't even get a double-double.
Dude, triple-doubles are like it's just impossible.
But he got close. He had like 9 assists, 8 rebounds. It's close enough.
I think it's important to mention that Oscar Robertson did not play in the NBA in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Not play in the contemporary NBA.
That's true, but great company to be compared to. It's not exactly a great, they're not the same player. Oscar Robertson was a 7-foot center. DeMar DeRozan is most definitely not that. But it's a great compliment, and we're seeing DeMar DeRozan. He's really that guy that he just gets better in the ways you least expect every season. So everybody thought this year he'd come in, and the only improvement he would make was ball handling, because we all saw on Instagram that's what he was practicing. But no, now he's really facilitating the game, passing the ball, taking the shots that he's supposed to take. Before, it used to be that it was almost like Dwayne Casey would design a play for him where he shoots it, and when the ball finally got to him, even if the play worked, he'd take the shot. If the play didn't work and it's a bad shot, he'd still finish the shot. Now he's at the point where the play will finish, he'll evaluate what's up, take it if it's clean, if not, kick it out to the right guy, that guy will get the shot. And that's what great basketball is. And more importantly, what I really love about this is now that he's facilitating, as I said, he's more of an offensive threat, but it allows Kyle Lowry to take a bit of rest and work more off the ball. Before, Lowry had to do too much. He had to create, he had to set up plays, get assists, score. He was doing everything without DeMar. Even when DeMar early in the season was here, he was still doing everything. He needed a break. And now DeMar's taking some of this burden off him. And Kyle Lowry, we saw last year when he played with Vasquez, when he had a guy setting up for him. He's an amazing spot-up shooter. His three-point shot hasn't fallen that much this year, but he's a great shooter and a great scorer. So having someone help him set things up, not always running ISOs or
take some attention off of him.
Yeah, it's unbelievable help. And we're going to see this. If this continues, if this is a trend that continues, which I hope it is, the Raptors are going to become an even more offensively lethal team.
Yeah, and I think DeMar's just about reached his physical ceiling. I think in terms of the skill set and his actual offensive abilities, I think this is about as good as it's going to get for him, but you're never too old to learn. And I think DeMar's really realizing that at this point in his career. He's really caring about the mental side of the game and just making the right play, even if it's not the flashiest or the best for your stat line.
Yeah, the one thing I definitely respect about DeMar DeRozan is he definitely loves what he does, and he has so much respect for the game, and he is such a willing learner. He's so coachable. He wants to get better. He wants to not just be a great player, but he wants to be talked about as one of the best players. He's so competitive. He's such a great player to have on your team.
A heck of a franchise guy, isn't he?
Yeah, and we're really lucky to get him.
We are.
This is one of the only bright spots
Of the Brian Colangelo's career, right?
Yeah, one of the only bright spots. That and maybe Jonas Valanciunas.
He did draft JV, eh?
Yeah, the entire starting lineup, well, normal, is him. And Lowry. Okay, you know what? 3 good things of Colangelo.
Brian Colangelo got Kyle Lowry?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, the last thing he did.
Well, that was fantastic. That was a great move.
Yeah, but he...
But it was
but
it was the cherry on top of a crap Sunday.
Yes, and we had to wait for Masai Ujiri to get rid of Jose Calderon.
Right.
That's
right.
when things got better for us.
Yeah.
So good job, Brian. But the point is, DeMar DeRozan, hell of a player. It's fantastic. All the praise to him. Hope you get in the All-Star game.
Me too.
So the next thing let's talk about, thing 4,
Yeah.
is the fans, us two included, have been demanding or booing Casey all season long. We've all wanted this one mythical lineup we think on paper would be the best lineup ever. And that is using Lowry, DeMar, James Johnson, Patrick Patterson, and JV. That lineup. So he hasn't listened to us at all. He's played that lineup a total of 1 minute this year, up until that Spurs game. He played that lineup for like 10 minutes, and they played unbelievable. It was crazy. Do you think that's something he might start using going forward? It seems like he's starting to trust Jonas Valanciunas a little more.
Right.
What do you think?
The Raptors have a weird problem this year that they've never had any other years. They're deeper than they know what to do with. They have too many guys to bring off the bench and give minutes to, and they don't really know how to distribute them. I think it is a great lineup. I mean, defensively, Patterson and JJ can trade off men. Whoever's like, more suited to guard whoever, they can kind of switch off whatever they want to do. And I think JJ obviously gives you good versatility on the offensive end. He could kick it out to guys like Patterson or Kyle for the 3. You have him and DeMar cut into the basket and JV to clean it up. I mean, yeah, on paper, it does look good. But, of course, there's got to be a reason why Dwayne Casey is hesitant. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe he's concerned about the rebounding, or he doesn't want to put all his eggs in one basket, have so much power out on the floor like that at once. I like the lineup on paper for sure, but there's got to be more to it than what we know.
I think Casey is a very conservative coach in the sense that he's really a creature of habit and hates to change. But we saw that lineup finally, and it was great.
And it worked. Yeah.
It worked fantastically. James Johnson had not a career night, but his best night of the season, scoring 20 points. It's just such a good lineup on paper. I mean, you have DeMar and Lowry. They do their thing. They can cut. They could drive. They could set up for other people. They could shoot threes. They can do it all. You have JJ, who's not a shooter, but you know what? Everybody else on this lineup, except for JV, can hit an outside shot. Mm-hmm. So there is some spacing. JV has his space on the inside because Patrick's outside. It's a really good, versatile lineup. And then when you go back to the defensive end, I mean, JJ, you have your best defender out there. Patrick Patterson has been an awesome defender this year. JV's starting to get the hang of things. Dwayne Casey's giving him more room.
He gave Tim Duncan a hard time last night.
16 rebounds. Ooh.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, JV is starting to look like something special.
I know he is. Yeah,
we're starting to see wow, this guy might really be something.
I think next year is going to be a serious breakout year for JV.
Yeah, as soon as we start really giving him consistent 34 minutes, like what he played against the Spurs a night, 33 or something in the 30 minutes a night, we're going to start, and trusting him more, we're going to see something special. But that lineup really worked well, and what I really liked is it gave Amir Johnson some time on the bench to rest. I mean, the guy's hurt. He could come off the bench, play against weaker opponents. He could play in the 2 power forward lineups with Patrick Patterson when you take JV off, or with Hansbrough. And we saw a lot of that. It worked really well. I hope it's something that we see more in the future. Mm-hmm. I think next game we're going to see James Johnson start. I mean, last game he played too well not to start him, so it's a step in the right direction, putting James Johnson in the starting lineup. Hopefully, it's not that I want Amir Johnson out of the starting lineup. I just want him healthy and rested. So I hope to see this lineup more. They played fantastically, and it was almost like watching a little bit of NBA 2K.
Because you had the maxed out overalls at each position, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. So we talked about that Spurs game. We're going to talk about that a little more for our last thing in the starting five. So that first game, that Spurs game, what did you think about it?
Well, first of all, that's the first time the Raptors have beat the Spurs in a very long time. I think it was January 3rd, 2010 was the last time the Raptors took a W against San Antonio.
It's a long time.
It's a symbol. The win is a symbol. It's a measuring stick, a litmus test, if you will. Beating the defending champs does a lot for your psyche, not just for your, it doesn't just show what you can do on the court. It's a new Toronto Raptors, and I think that was the exclamation point was put on that statement just last night. It was a fantastic game, start to finish. They fought and they got what they were looking for. They got what they deserved.
Yeah, this was the type of game I really circled on my calendar. This was the type of game that the Raptors needed to win. It was such a good game to win to build your confidence up. And more than that, even though the Spurs aren't the number one in the West this year, they're always a team that will bring it every single night. They'll play strict rotations, very strict technical basketball, and they're a scary team to play on any given night. And they're not a team that just beat Miami Heat last year. They thoroughly whooped their ass in the playoffs. So this is a team that really brings it, plays great basketball, and it was an exciting game, a really excited game, and we held them down to their lowest scoring output the entire season so far.
Coach Casey is flipping out about that in a positive way, I mean.
Yeah. And we prevented Popovich was going for his 1,000th win that game.
Of course, how do we not bring that up? Yeah.
We held him back. Definitely, too many bad things like that have happened to Toronto. Kobe going for that 81-point game. The last thing we needed was Popovich to get his 1,000th on us. I mean,
right.
That's the last thing. But that's besides the point. But beating them was just such a playoff atmosphere. The way the game was being played slowly, very tactically, very methodically.
It was a war of attrition.
Yeah, and it was just I would say it was not for the TV value. It was the best game we've seen this season.
Right.
For the basketball content, it was the best game we've seen this year too. We held them down, we played gritty defense, we didn't score that pretty, but it was a really a playoff game, playing in half-court sets, really strict matchups.
And they stayed aggressive for 48, which I think is so important.
For 48.
Yeah.
This was the best Raptors performance we've seen. And there was a lot of team camaraderie, so much team basketball this week. We saw DeMar go off, Lowry had a nice game, JJ had a fantastic game.
T. Ross had a nice one.
Yeah, he had a few nice ones. And JV held Tim Duncan down, even got in his head. Did you see Tim Duncan threw that out-of-bounds pass on the last one? Maybe that was...
I'm not sure I remember that, actually.
On the last play. Maybe that was JV psyching him out a little. Timmy was losing
his mind
a bit.
He just sort of lobbed it cross-court and went right out of bounds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and so there's a lot of team camaraderie. The team's feeling good. That's the type of game where you win and you feel really good about this team. But I think this is the point of the season, and this is what we should celebrate, is that this is the type of win that now the team is mature enough to win and reflect and still learn from this game and not get cocky. Early in the season, they were winning, they were beating everyone, and they got too cocky, too big egos, and that's where they just went on this terrible skid. I think at this point, they're really learning from that, and they're staying humble and hungry.
Again, I think it does wonders for a team psychologically to beat the defending champs, and a team that's just sort of been etched into everyone's skull as the, just one of the hardest teams to beat in the NBA, consistently one of the best teams. So good on the Raptors to make that statement game, and you make the fans proud with ones like those.
Yeah, we're certainly happy.
And with that, I think we're going to go to yet another break. We'll see you in just a few short moments with the King of the North, along with a new segment that we'll talk to you about in just a short while. Stay put, RapsCast followers. So get out your seat and jump around. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed our break music. I know it hasn't changed in a while. We'll start brainstorming about new things, but more importantly, back we are to RapsCast, and I'm going to introduce a new segment, something we just thought up this week. It's called Be a GM. I'm sure you can imagine what we're going to do. Kyle and I are going to try to stand in the shoes of a couple GMs around the league and say what we think we should do about hypothetical trade scenarios or just ongoings in the league. So, Kyle, why don't you start us off with something that caught your eye?
So, in the news this week, the Denver Nuggets are talking about offloading Aaron Aflalo. He makes about $7 million a year. The only thing that's hurting his trade values is that he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So trading for him is a bit of a risk. Ideally, he lands on somewhere like a contender, somewhere with a big culture that could keep him around for a long time. So we're going to really think about this from the Raptors' perspective. Maybe he's a good fit for the Raptors. So I was thinking, tell me if you agree or not, what would you think? Well, first of all, of getting him, but my idea is they want a first-rounder. So what if we gave them our first-rounder this year? As we've said, it's going to be a late first-round pick, like 25th pick. Give them that and, like, Lou Williams. What do you think of that, Jacoby? Aaron Aflalo.
Aaron Aflalo is, like, basically a Lou Williams with a little more versatility. He might not be able to score the ball as well as Lou Williams, but he's not far. And he can defend and rebound and be a more complete player that way. I think Aaron Aflalo would be a great fit on the Raptors. I've always been saying they either need a new big or a new wing. Aaron Aflalo would fit that mold perfectly. I think he'd fit in great. He'd love the winning culture that's here in Toronto. I'd love to see that happen. I think he'd be a great Raptor.
I think it would be a good trade, and not only that, it's a trade that could actually happen for many reasons, okay? Firstly, they want a first-round pick for him. They've said this. We can give them that pick, no problem. We'll be happy to do that. And Aaron Aflalo is a few things to me. One, he's a player that has about the work ethic as DeMar DeRozan, okay? Those two players are going to get along incredibly. And to me, Aaron Aflalo is everything that you want Terrence Ross to be this year.
Yeah.
Okay? He's that shooting guard that could play the small forward, that's an incredible defender, hits his threes. He's one season removed from being on the Magic where he averaged about 19 points a game and was considered to be all-star caliber. Mm-hmm. He's a great player. You get him for the rest of the season. If he walks away, okay, you lost that first rounder. We might not have kept Lou in the first place. And more importantly, we might have a great shot at keeping him. One, because we have that winning culture. We have a hard-working culture, and he's one of the hardest workers in the game. Like DeMar DeRozan, they'll get along well. But his old GM, when he was on the Magic, was none other than the Messiah himself.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. What? So we have a great rapport with him. This trade could happen, and it should happen, because he'd be just such a great fit. He'd replace Lou Williams. Lou Williams is that scoring off the bench. Aaron Aflalo could be that scoring off the bench. Now, he's not as nifty and
pretty.
As creative as Lou Williams, but he's effective. He's a better three-point shooter, not as much as a Fowler, but he's way better defensively, more of an all-around player. And let's say someone gets hurt, he's more of an all-around player that I would be confident throwing in the starting lineup. Again, he's like what I want to see at a Terrence Ross, that guy who plays defense, hits his open threes, could drive, and he's a player that gets better every year. So if we get him for 1 year, okay, you lose this first rounder, and we might make a deep postseason push just because we have him. Worth it.
I think the Raptors have to be buyers this year. I think they have to be excited about what they got and what it looks like in the East this year.
That first round pick is a great thing to shop. I mean,
absolutely.
We know it's going to fall low. We want to make a postseason run right now. It's time to get rid of that, be a buyer. He's a great guy to get. Just for a culture reason, great fit, great character. What's often undervalued in basketball is the character of a player. And him and DeMar DeRozan, those are just such hard workers, and just they'll be such a good fit together. You could throw in a starting lineup of, the boys, the backcourt, Aaron Aflalo at the wing, and then Amir and JV. That's an amazing lineup. You have defense in Aflalo. You have you have what you wanted of Terrence Ross. I've said it like 4 times. This trade is just too realistic to not happen. Who knows if it will? It very, very most likely won't. But it just should happen. I can't see why it wouldn't. They want a first rounder. We'll give it to them happily.
Yeah, and I think the Raptors could really use an Aaron Aflalo type. What a step up that would be from Lou Will.
Yeah, and
taller, thicker, just a more athletic guy.
I think the one thing that's inhibiting this trade is anytime Masai picks up a phone, the other GM gets worried.
Oh, I got to get it. Yeah, got to watch myself here.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I could see, but it's too plausible to not happen. It really should happen. It would just be so good for both teams. I mean, and Denver, they get that first-round pick they wanted in a very deep draft class. They get Lou Williams, a contract that's going to end. They could get someone else. They may want someone who's going to stay around for a bit longer. That could be the other thing, but really what they've said they want is a first-round pick. We'll hand that to them, no problem. I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So what's next?
Oh my goodness. The big ticket is being shopped around by the Brooklyn Nets. Not surprising that they're looking to go enter a rebuild phase at the end of this year. They, things didn't pan out for them like they had hoped. So KG maybe to Toronto in the discussion of teams he could land. Here's the deal. Kevin Garnett doesn't have much left that he can give you in his career. The man is 38 years old. He is not the athlete he once was. But in that brain and in that body, there is a winner. And during a playoff run, having a tough guy that can bring a team together and wants to win more than he wants to breathe, that can help a basketball team. There's no replacement for experience in the league. And I find that if the Raptors are going to be buyers like we've discussed they should be this year, considering the state of the Eastern Conference and what's really going on with them this year, I think Kevin Garnett could be a very valuable piece in a playoff run. His contract's up at the end of this year, and he is making $14 million per year, #overpaid. But I think if the Raptors could get rid of a draft pick, because like you said, our draft pick is obviously going to be quite late this year, not something that we really need too bad, not a super highly valued pick. And if we could give them two of our lower in the depth chart big men, guys like Chuck Hayes and Tyler Hansbrough, and the pick maybe for Kevin Garnett, I think he can give something to our team that they were not. And I think the Raptors would improve in the short term for the rest of this year by having a guy like Kevin Garnett. Even if he doesn't play that many minutes, even if he doesn't grab that many rebounds, people know who KG is, and he helps the team because of his stature and his history in the league and just what he knows about this game and how he's played it. So I'd love to see him in Toronto.
I sort of disagree. I want to agree with you. He has a few things that are really good. I mean, he can
intangibles.
Still shoot. Yeah, he could still shoot. He could still play defense. Okay, and I think really his primary value to the team is more off the bench contributions. I mean, to win a playoff series, there is so much that goes on off the court, so much mental toughness and experience. Those matter so much more than we think they do. That yes, he would be amazing in that sense. But then you always got to think when he is on the court. Last year when we played him, we exposed Garnett every single play. Okay? In the pick and roll, he is too slow now.
Yeah.
He's not a guy I want to see out there in the playoffs in a sense, I want to see him out there on the playoffs for 20 minutes, but in a sense, I don't, because he's the type of player either he's going to have a good matchup and it'll go great, or it will go train wreck wrong because he'll be too slow to defend. So I'm really torn on this one. I don't know. I want to say that he'd be a good fit, what we need. His experience would definitely be a great
his locker
addition.
Room contribution.
Yes.
I think when you add an MVP, NBA champion, Hall of Famer, like you almost can't go wrong.
Yeah, but I don't know if we're going to give up two rotation players, change a lot on the team for a player who is at the end of his career, is flawed. I don't know.
Are we changing a lot on the team by giving away Chuck and Tyler Hansbrough?
Oh, okay. I thought you said Lou. And
well, I'm looking for any excuse to chase Lou Williams out of town. But frankly, in this trade, we wouldn't be getting something back that we desperately need. It makes more sense to give Lou away for an Aaron Aflalo.
But I really don't know. I mean, I want to say it'd be a good fit, but there's too much risk for me to think about it. I mean, I remember watching that Nets playoff series, and we exposed him so much on the pick and roll. He could still score for us. He could still play alongside JV, shoot from the outside, grab rebounds. But I don't know. At this age, there's just too many holes in his game just from athletically. I don't know. I really don't know if I would do it. I'd at least call and explore the trade, but I don't know if I was Messiah if I would go for
How about this? If we give away only a pick and Chuck Hayes, would you do it? If we give away only a pick and the Cleveland Steamer, would you do it?
Yeah, but that doesn't work on paper.
Because we have to give away more money.
Yeah, Cleveland Steamer makes about $1 million a year, and KG makes like 14.
14.
Yes, I would do it in a heartbeat. If we gave Chuck and Chuck and the Steamer, even though that still wouldn't work, I would still do it.
It would have to be like Chuck the Steamer and Landry Fields.
You know what? I probably would do it for Hansbrough and a pick. If that could happen, I probably would.
Ideally, Landry Fields makes big money. Ideally, it would be like Landry Fields and a pick.
Yeah, Landry Fields. I would do Landry Fields, Hansbrough, and a pick. Most likely.
Yeah.
Most likely.
I just think the addition of somebody who's won a championship and somebody with the type of competitiveness that KG has, I mean, he would change the atmosphere. And come playoff time, you can never have too much intensity.
Yeah, because I kind of think that if we had I remember 2 years ago, Kenyon Martin was on the Knicks, and he played amazingly, just from experience in the playoffs for the Knicks. And this year, watch the Bucks. They signed him, Kenyon Martin, for the end of the year. He's going to become, not dangerous, but he's really going to become a leader.
He'll do his job well.
Yeah, he'll do his jobs, and he'll really keep the Bucks players, those young Bucks players, in line when they get to the playoffs, and they're going to need that. He's going to make his weight, he's going to earn his paycheck very well in the playoffs when he gets there with the Bucks. And so will Jared Dudley and a few of their other veterans. So yes, we could use that veteran presence. It would probably be enormous. It would probably pay dividends. I'm just worried by on-court performance. In the sense, I would almost rather Kenyon Martin. I'm not sure if I would, but I almost would. I know Kenyon's a better defender and a better rebounder at this point. I'm really torn, because I would love to see KG wearing a Toronto Raptors uniform. It would be too great.
I'm probably a little biased on this. I mean, he is my all-time favorite NBA athlete.
Yeah, he's probably one of everybody's. The other thing we didn't mention is that he has a no-trade clause on his contract, so he would have to agree to this. So the idea is that the Nets are going to ship him off. If he agrees to it, they're going to try to send him to a playoff team, hopefully a playoff contender, and the thought is if they send him here, we'll become one of those contenders. I don't know. We'll have to let Masai decide on that one. Yeah, he's the professional.
Exactly.
Or the amateurs.
Either way, I'd be happy with either of the players we just discussed. If the Raptors add any pieces and it's one of those two,
I'll be happy.
Expect cheers from my house.
Aaron Aflalo. So let's jump on to the King of the North.
Yes, sir. The King of the North.
The King of the North.
The King of the North.
The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King of the North. The King
So who's the king of the North?
Well, this week we picked James Johnson. No surprise there. Coming back from injury, coming back from being the whipping boy, and it looks like his psyche is right back on track. He's mentally, right back into the game, doing everything we saw from him when he was at his best for the Raptors. So, an easy pick for us. James Johnson this week, king of the North.
James Johnson is a basketball god this year. 20 points, starting lineup against the Spurs, played unbelievable basketball. We saw him tore up Blake Griffin against the Clippers last Friday. He's playing unbelievable basketball. He played amazing against the Spurs. We saw a few post-up plays, such smooth footwork, great defense against Timmy, against Parker.
He made him look slow.
Yeah, he's playing unbelievable basketball, really smart basketball. He even hit a 3. And Dwayne Casey said he did not put him in that starting lineup for the shooting. But he even hit not only a 3, a clutch 3 at the end. Really sealed the game for us and brought the team into that focus mode. One of the clutch plays. So he's really doing everything right. He's choosy with his shots. Great passing, great defense, stealing, active. He comes in and he gives it 100% every single second he's on the court. So for that, he gets King of the North.
Move of the year from the Messiah.
Yeah, from the Messiah. The only thing I would question from Messiah is why didn't you get a 3-year contract out of the guy? Come on.
It was a risk at the time. It was hard to say. It was hard
we were doubting at the
you
beginning.
yourself.
I was doubting.
There you go.
I'm looking pretty stupid.
There you go. So that's why.
Yeah, but now he's looking foolish. Too good of a move.
All right.
So that's the King of the North.
That's the King of the North, and that's the end of our content here.
So
episode 6.
This is RapsCast.
This is RapsCast. Where can they find us, Kyle? Where can the people get what they want?
You can follow us on Tumblr. We got YouTube. We got Facebook. You could follow us, like us, and all that shit. But most importantly, send us comments, stuff you like, stuff you hate, anything you want us to talk about on the next show, stuff like that. I mean, we really want to talk. We want to start a discussion. We want to talk about what you want to hear.
Make it more interactive with y'all.
Yeah. So hit us up. That's it.
That's it.
RapsCast.
Have a good week, North.
RapsCast episode 6. It was a blast.
We'll check in with you next Friday.